Happy Easter, friends. Today we're going to work on a craft that I think you'll have fun with. But part of the materials that we're going to use for the craft can also remind us of that Easter morning when Jesus had been buried in the tomb and the tomb opened up and it was empty. That's the excitement of the risen Lord. So we're going to actually use this tomb. We're going to turn it this way. And we're going to plant something in it. And what you will end up with, I hope, if things go right, is a pot that looks like this. And if you're patient, perhaps some plants will grow out of it. All right, let's get ready and get started. Ah, spring. It's a time of renewed life. What a perfect time to celebrate Easter. If you look around the ground, you may see the brown seeds of last year's plants. They seem so dead, so lifeless. And yet, each spring they surprise us. On Good Friday, Jesus' limp, lifeless body was removed from the cross. He was placed in a burial tomb. Even though he died, death could not hold him. The sprouting springtime seed reminds us of Jesus' triumph over death. Let's see what's in our bag this week for this strange activity Miss Leigh has got planned for us. Wow, okay. We have, oh, how exciting, a bag of dirt. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for a minute. We have your very own pot, and then it's got a little drainer to hold it when you get it finished. I'm going to set that aside right now. We have the seeds that we'll be planting. And then you'll have a little wax bag, and in it is several of these adhesive things that we'll be putting on our pot today. I've cut out a few of the parts for you. I've cut out the eyebrows, the nose, and the mouth. They were pretty challenging. But I want you to cut out the eyes. Actually, they go like that. And then I want you to color this and then cut it out. And let me show you where it goes. It's going to be over on the side of our pot where our little fellow is shouting, "He is risen." So let's get started. All right, before we start cutting, go on and color in this. And I'm going to go on and pull the one that I've already colored and get my scissors. Now, let me show you about cutting these. I've given them a gray background so that if you're a kind of sloppy cutter the way I am and you're not real sharp with it, this way it's sort of the color of the pot itself. So it kind of gives you a little bit of grace. So if you're a sloppy cutter, it doesn't make too big a difference. You don't have a great big old piece of white thing showing that you've goofed. So I'm just going to trim around there as close as I can. And really the way I cut off your things was using my X-Acto knife. So I cheated a little bit. Okay. So I got to cut my eyeballs out. Check back with me in a minute and I'll have everything cut out. All right, I think I've got all the pieces cut out that I'm gonna need. So what we're gonna do, let's start with the smile. And the reason you're gonna peel the image off of the back paper. And it's sort of sticky. Now I think if you maybe set this outside, it would not last long. Well, let's put a happy smile there. He's smiling because Jesus is risen. He's very happy. So just press that down. How's that look? All right, now let's do the little nose. This was really challenging to cut out. I'll give it a little twist to the nose, and you just press it down on your pot. How about some eyes? Now I have these eyes looking upwards. I think I'm gonna do that with these as well, because once our plants start growing, it's gonna look pretty cute, and he's gonna wanna be seeing what's going on top. There's one eye. Press it down. Now his face is taking shape. Let's give him a couple of eyebrows. And this is where you can get a little expressive. Do I want it to be over to the side? Do I want it to be up? Do I want him to be a little concerned? Eyebrows give great expression to a face. I think he's going to be a little concerned what's going on top of his head. There we go. And if you don't like how you've positioned it, you should be able to pick them up and move them around fairly easily. Now, let's put on his words. So these have been colored. Find an area where you can peel it away from the backing. Like that. And then it's going to be a little speech bubble, so it's going to sort of aim at his mouth. About like that. And then just press it down. And it does tend to wrinkle a little bit, but you can just press really hard and get those wrinkles out. So, looks pretty good. Let's get planting. I've given you about 7 cups of soil here, potting soil. And so this should be plenty. What we're going to do first is fill it to the top, our pot, with our decorations on it. And try not to make too big of a mess. But we are going to have to get our hands dirty, so just realize that to begin with. Let's stop right there for a second. And then just press it down. It's very airy. Okay, so this means we can add some more. But I just want to make sure you reserve at least a little bit of soil in your bag, because that's what we'll cover our seeds with. I think that looks pretty good. I haven't spilled too much. Press it down nice and flat. Now in your bag I've also included some instructions, so if you forget what I've said today, you can look at those instruction sheets. Now, the type of grass I've given you is wheatgrass sprouting seeds. And if you look at them in the baggie, they look like death. There's nothing about them that looks alive, does it? It just looks dead. But that's the wonder of gardening. All right. So what we're going to do is open the bag and cover the entire surface with these seeds. You can check back with me in a minute and I'll have it done. All right, I have not used quite all of my seeds, but as you can see, I've covered, so here, let's add a little bit more to this little empty spot here. I've pretty much covered the entire surface. Now, one thing you might want to do first, I'm going to do it now, but it might be better to do this first, is go on and saturate the soil. Yeah, it probably would have been better if I'd done that first, because you can see my little seeds are moving around on the dirt. I'm going to have some more holes to fill up. But give it a good dousing, because we want the soil to be wet, 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 wet when we plant our seeds. So I'm going to need to fill a few more holes with my remaining seeds. There we go. Okay, got a lot of seeds in there. Let's hope they grow. Okay. Next, we're going to take some of our remaining soil and just put a little bit on top of all our seeds. So I've just put a good handful there. I want them to be covered up. In a way, this is sort of like closing Jesus into the tomb. He was dead, and they put him in the tomb and closed it up. Now, although these seeds look dead, they're not, right? These seeds are sort of in hibernation. But I do want to keep you from being confused. Jesus was truly dead. He did not magically reappear like these seeds. These seeds are just sort of to give us that impression of life coming after death. Now, the next thing I want to do is add water to that topsoil. And if you've got a spray bottle, that works really well for watering these plants. So I'm going to give a good misting to this top. Move that out of the way so it doesn't get wet. And that is essentially the craft today. Your job now is to keep the soil moist and keep the pot in a nice warm area. And when you start seeing the little seeds pop up, move it where they can get some sun. And you're going to have a crazy looking guy with green hair. Have a great week, kids. Happy Easter. Enjoy this craft activity. Bye.